I stood in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by the remnants of my former life, debate team trophies, Harvard Business School acceptance letter, never used, and photos of the perfect daughter I was supposed to be. Outside, Mom's voice carried through the open window as she showed yet another real estate agent around our family's prized Victorian mansion. Of course, we're not desperate to sell, she lied smoothly. We're just exploring our options. I knew better. The foreclosure notice had arrived last week, hidden in Dad's study beneath golf club invoices and unpaid credit card bills. 3 generations of Phillips family pride, about to collapse under the weight of appearances. Olivia. Mom's voice sharpened as she spotted me through the window. I thought you were at your, what do you call it? Your little computer thing. It's a tech company, Mom, I replied, fighting to keep my voice even. We develop AI-driven real estate analytics platforms. Whatever it is, it's wasting your talent. She dismissed me with a wave, turning back to the agent. My daughter, had a perfect job offer from Goldman Sachs, but threw it all away for some startup fantasy. The perfect job, she mentioned, had been her dream, not mine. Just like the country club membership, the debutante ball, and the endless string of suitable men she kept throwing at me. All part of the life she'd planned, a life that was crumbling along with their finances. My phone buzzed. Probably another update from my CFO about our latest acquisition. Instead, it was Dad. The bank called again. Can you loan us some money? Just until things turn around. I stared at the message, remembering all the times they'd dismissed my company as a hobby, a phase, a waste of my expensive education. They had no idea that while they were desperately trying to maintain their social status, I'd built Phillips Tech into a billion-dollar empire. The real estate agent's voice drifted up. Given the market conditions and your situation, I'd recommend listing at $5.2 million. Mom's gasp was audible. But this house has been appraised at $8 million. That was 3 years ago, Mrs. Phillips. And given the urgent nature of your sale, I'd heard enough. Opening my laptop, I pulled up Phillips Tech's investment portfolio. We'd been expanding into real estate, acquiring distressed properties across the country. One more mansion wouldn't make a difference to our bottom line. A message from my assistant popped up. Bloomberg wants to confirm the rumors about our IPO next month. Estimated valuation, $4.7 billion. Perfect timing. I headed downstairs, finding Mom in the kitchen after the agent left. She was clutching her designer handbag, the last birthday gift Dad had given her before the money ran out. I'm going back to my office, I said, watching her arrange fresh flowers as if everything was fine. Just wanted to say goodbye. That little rental space in Brooklyn? He sniffed. Honestly, Olivia, when are you going to stop this foolishness? The Anderson's son is looking for a wife, and he's just made partner at his law firm. Mom, I interrupted, I don't need to marry a partner. I am the partner. The CEO, actually. Playing with computers isn't a real career. Her voice rose, that familiar note of disappointment creeping in. You're throwing your life away. I let her words wash over me, thinking about the documents my legal team was preparing. Maybe you're right, I said quietly. Maybe I am throwing away the life you wanted for me. But I've built something better. Built what? Some website. Some app. While we're losing everything we've worked for. The doorbell rang, special delivery. Right on time. Mom opened the door to find a courier with an official-looking envelope. I watched as she read the contents, her face draining of color. This must be a mistake, she whispered. It says the house has been sold. To Phillips Tech Industries. No mistake, I replied, taking the document from her trembling hands. The mansion has a new owner. My company. She sank into a chair, her perfect posture finally breaking. Your company? But how? Remember all those times you asked what I was playing at on my computer? I was building an AI system that revolutionized real estate investment. While you were planning my imaginary wedding, I was planning my empire. But the money. How could you afford? I pulled up Phillips Tech's financials on my phone, showing her our latest valuation. Her eyes widened at the string of zeros. The house is yours, I continued. Well, technically it's a company asset, but you and Dad can stay. No more foreclosure threats. No more pretending everything's fine when it's not. Why didn't you tell us? Her voice was small, lost. Would you have believed me? You were too busy mourning the daughter you wanted to see the CEO I became. My phone buzzed again. The IPO announcement was ready for approval. Mom stared at the screen, finally seeing the truth. Her daughter wasn't wasting time. She was making history. I have a board meeting, I said, heading for the door. Oh, and Mom? The Anderson's son? His firm just hired us to handle their digital transformation. He reports to my VP of operations now. As I walked to my waiting car, I heard Mom calling Dad. Charles? You need to come home. No. Our daughter. She's not who we thought she was. No, I thought sliding into the Tesla's leather interior. I'm so much more. The news of Philips Tech's acquisition of the family mansion spread through our social circle like wildfire. By evening, Mom's phone was buzzing constantly with calls from her country club friends, all desperate for details about her daughter, the secret billionaire. I watched the drama unfold from my real office. Not the Brooklyn rental Mom imagined, but the top floor of a gleaming tower in Manhattan. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city I was quietly conquering. The IPO announcement is trending, my PR director Jamie reported. Wall Street Journal wants an exclusive. They're particularly interested in the family angle, especially after someone leaked about the mansion purchase. I smiled, knowing exactly who had leaked it. Mom had always excelled at social manipulation. She just never expected me to surpass her at her own game. Miss Phillips. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Your father's here. Dad walked in looking both older and smaller than I remembered. His custom suits had been replaced by off-the-rack clothing, his confident stride now hesitant. The country club bankruptcy had hit him hard. The house. He began, then stopped, taking in my office, the awards lining the walls, the digital displays showing real-time market data, the unmistakable trappings of power. All this time you were building an empire? I finished for him. Yes. Though you and Mom were too busy planning my society wedding to notice. He sank into a chair, running a hand through his graying hair. Why didn't you help us sooner? When the club memberships started lapsing, when the credit cards maxed out. Would you have accepted help from your foolish daughter? From my little computer hobby? I kept my voice level, professional. You needed to learn the same lesson I did. That appearances aren't everything. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. The Sinclairs just called. Their son Bradley, Harvard Law, is very interested in meeting you. Now that he knows about your success. I showed the message to Dad, who had the grace to look embarrassed. Your mother. She means well. No, she means status, I corrected. Tell her Bradley Sinclair's firm is one of our clients. He's welcome to schedule a meeting through my executive assistant. The afternoon brought a parade of revelations. Our AI platform had just secured contracts with 3 major real estate developers. Our stock price was projected to triple after the IPO. Forbes wanted me for their cover. There's something else, I told Dad, pulling up the company's acquisition records. Philips Tech hasn't just bought the mansion. We've acquired the country club too. He stared at me, understanding dawning. The club that blacklisted us when we couldn't pay our dues? The same. We're renovating it, turning it into a tech incubator and innovation center. Though we'll keep the golf course. Consider it a lesson in irony. Just then Mom burst in, designer handbag swinging wildly. Olivia, why didn't you tell me about the club? Mrs. Sinclair just called. Everyone's talking about it. Hello, Mother, I said calmly. Nice of you to visit my little computer thing office. She froze, finally taking in her surroundings, the spectacular view, the quiet power, the reality of what her daughter had built while she was busy planning debutante balls. This is really all yours? Actually, I smiled, clicking to display our corporate structure. This is just the beginning. Philips Tech is about to go public. And you might want to sit down for this part. I showed them the valuation numbers. Mom actually swayed, gripping Dad's arm for support. But this means, you're worth more than all our friends combined, she whispered. Funny how wasting time worked out, isn't it? My phone buzzed again. The IPO documents needed my final approval. Mom was still staring at the valuation display, mentally recalculating every assumption she'd ever made about me. The house, she said suddenly. You bought it just to save us from embarrassment, didn't you? No, Mom. I bought it to show you that success doesn't always look like what you expect. That sometimes the daughter you're ashamed of becomes the one you have to look up to. Outside my office, the sun was setting over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of possibility. Tomorrow, Philips Tech would go public and everyone would know exactly what I'd built while they weren't watching. But for now, I watched my parents grapple with their new reality. Their daughter wasn't just successful. She was powerful enough to rewrite their entire world. The morning of Philips Tech's IPO dawned bright and clear. I stood in the New York Stock Exchange surrounded by my executive team, watching our company's ticker symbol light up the board for the first time. Mom and Dad sat in the VIP section, looking both proud and bewildered as reporters swarmed around us. Philips Tech opens at $245 per share. The announcement echoed through the trading floor. Our projected valuation had been conservative. We were already worth twice what analysts expected. Olivia. Mom called out, waving a copy of the Wall Street Journal. Her own photo was prominently featured alongside mine in their coverage. Mother who called tech a waste of time, watches daughter's company soar to $9.8 billion valuation. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn. Congratulations from Microsoft, interested in partnership discussions. Google CEO would like to schedule a lunch. Forbes cover shoot confirmed for next week. The country club renovation plans are ready for review. But the message that caught my eye was from Bradley Sinclair. Remember when you tutored me in computer science at Harvard? Still need help understanding tech. Coffee sometime. I smiled, remembering how Mom had pushed me to date him back then, convinced he was my ticket to success. Now his firm handled our minor legal work, reporting to my junior associates. Miss Phillips. My assistant appeared with urgent news. The mansion's renovation team needs approval for the new tech installation. And your mother's friends are all calling about country club membership renewals. I glanced at Mom, who was now surrounded by the same social circle that had whispered about my wasted potential for years. They all wanted tours of my office, introductions to my network, a piece of the success they'd dismissed. Tell them membership applications go through our standard corporate channels, I replied. No exceptions for old family friends. Dad approached, holding a tablet showing our stock price's meteoric rise. I've been calculating. This makes you one of the youngest billionaires in tech history. Yes, I said simply. Though that was never the point. Then what was? Mom joined us, her society smile slipping slightly. Why didn't you just tell us what you were building? Because you needed to learn what I learned years ago. That success isn't about maintaining appearances or following traditional paths. It's about having the courage to build something new. The trading floor erupted in cheers as our stock jumped another 20%. Photographers rushed to capture the moment. The tech prodigy and her formerly skeptical parents, watching wealth and vindication multiply before their eyes. The mansion's smart home installation will be complete next week, I told them. You'll have full access, of course, but it's also going to be Philips Tech's East Coast Innovation Center. Every room equipped with the technology you once called a waste of time. Mom's eyes welled up. We were wrong, Olivia. So wrong. No, I corrected her gently. You were just looking in the wrong direction. While you were focused on society parties and suitable marriages, I was focusing on the future. My phone buzzed again, a message that made me laugh out loud. What is it? Dad asked. The Andersons just applied for membership at our new Tech Innovation Center. Apparently their son, the one Mom wanted me to marry, is hoping to pitch his startup idea. Life does have a sense of humor, Dad mused. The day continued in a whirlwind of interviews, congratulations, and soaring stock prices. By closing bell, Philips Tech had made history, the largest tech IPO of the year. Later that evening, I took Mom and Dad to dinner at my favorite restaurant in Brooklyn. The same place I'd worked on my first business plan while they thought I was finding myself. I want to show you something, I said, pulling out my old laptop. On it was a video diary from 5 years ago, recorded the night they told me I was throwing my life away. Young Olivia spoke to the camera. They don't understand yet. But someday they'll see that success doesn't always wear a tennis outfit or come with a country club membership. Sometimes it wears coding glasses and stays up all night building something revolutionary. Mom reached for my hand across the table. We see you now, darling. Finally, we see you. Outside, the Brooklyn skyline sparkled with possibility. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new chances to revolutionize industries. But tonight was about something simpler. A daughter who'd proven that the best revenge against doubt is astronomical success. To Phillips Tech, Dad raised his glass. No, I corrected him, thinking of that scared but determined girl from the video. To believing in yourself when no one else does. The mansion would soon be filled with young innovators, its stuffy rooms transformed into creative spaces. The country club would incubate startups instead of social climbing. And my parents, well, they were learning that sometimes the best future comes from the dreams they once dismissed. By the way, I mentioned casually, I've decided to start a scholarship fund for young women in tech who've been told they're wasting their time. Mom's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were tears of understanding. Sometimes the biggest waste of time is trying to be what others expect instead of becoming what you know you can be. 1 year later, the Phillips mansion hummed with activity as young tech entrepreneurs filled its renovated halls. In what was once Mom's formal dining room, a team of women coders worked on the next breakthrough app. Dad's old study had become a VR development lab. I stood in my childhood bedroom, now transformed into a showcase for emerging tech talent. The debate trophies and Harvard acceptance letter remained, but alongside them hung photos of the scholarship recipients. Dozens of young women defying their own doubters. Miss Phillips. A familiar voice called. One of our first scholarship winners. A girl whose parents had also called her dreams a waste of time. We just got acquired by Google. Mom appeared in the doorway, no longer wearing her society suits but casual business attire. As director of our foundation's mentorship program, she'd found a new purpose, helping other parents understand their children's unconventional dreams. The irony, she smiled, watching the young innovators at work. I spent years trying to get you out of this room and away from computers. And now I'm telling every mother I meet, let your daughters waste time. They might just change the world. The Blackwood name meant everything in our city. It adorned buildings, graced charity gala invitations, and opened doors that remained firmly closed to others. My family had spent generations building an empire of real estate and investment firms, each generation adding to the legacy that was supposed to be my birthright. Until the day they decided I didn't deserve to be a Blackwood. I stood in my Uncle George's mahogany-paneled office, my hands trembling slightly as I held the business proposal I'd spent months perfecting. At 25, I was the youngest Blackwood to ever propose a new division for the family company. Technology investment? Uncle George's voice dripped with disdain as he flipped through my carefully prepared presentation. Elizabeth, this isn't what Blackwood Industries does. But it's where the future is heading, I insisted, pointing to my market research. We're losing opportunities by staying solely in real estate and traditional investments. Tech startups are the new frontier. My father, James Blackwood, sat silently in the corner, his face unreadable. He hadn't said a word since I'd started my presentation. The Blackwood name was built on solid ground, Uncle George continued, not digital fantasies. We deal in things we can touch, buildings, land, tangible assets. That's exactly my point, I leaned forward. The world is changing. If we don't adapt. Enough. Uncle George slammed my proposal down on his desk. This isn't about the company, Elizabeth. This is about you trying to prove something. Again. I felt my face flush. What's that supposed to mean? It means, he stood up, towering over his desk, that you've always been the problem child. Always trying to be different, to change things that don't need changing. My father finally stirred. George, perhaps. No, James. It's time someone said it. Uncle George's eyes bored into mine. You've been a disappointment since the day you chose to study computer science instead of business like the rest of the family. You think you know better than generations of successful Blackwoods. I lifted my chin. I think I see opportunities we're missing. The tech sector is booming and we're doing just fine without your revolutionary ideas. He spat the words like they tasted bitter. The board met this morning. We've decided to give your position to your cousin William. The room started spinning. William was 2 years younger than me and had barely graduated college. But he had one qualification I didn't. He never questioned the Blackwood way of doing things. You can't do that, I whispered. I've worked here for 3 years. You've earned nothing. Uncle George's face turned red. Everything you have is because of this family. The apartment, the connections, the respect in this city. It all comes from being a Blackwood. Without this family name, you're nothing. I turned to my father, hoping to see some support, some sign that he'd stand up for me. He met my eyes briefly before looking away. Your uncle is right, Elizabeth, he said quietly. You've always wanted to do things your way instead of learning from those who built this company. Maybe this is for the best. The betrayal felt like a physical blow. My own father choosing the family legacy over his daughter. Fine, I gathered my papers with shaking hands. I'll clean out my office. Oh, there's more. Uncle George's smile was cruel. The board also voted to restrict your trust fund access. Since you don't appreciate the traditional Blackwood values, you don't get to benefit from them either. I froze. You're cutting me off completely? Consider it motivation to learn some humility. The family apartments, cars, credit cards, all of it goes back to the company. You want to make it on your own? Here's your chance. I looked between them. My uncle's smug satisfaction, my father's weak resignation. These men who thought they could break me by taking away the golden cage they'd built around me. They had no idea they were actually setting me free. I walked to the door, then paused. You know what the funny thing is? While you've been busy protecting the past, I've been preparing for the future. Uncle George scoffed. What's that supposed to mean? I smiled, thinking of the small office I'd secretly rented 3 months ago, the connections I'd been building outside the family network, the plans I'd made just in case something like this happened. It means you just did exactly what I hoped you would. I pulled my company ID from my neck and dropped it on the floor. You made it personal. Are you threatening us? Uncle George's voice rose. You think you can compete with Blackwood Industries? Compete. I laughed. Oh no, Uncle George. I'm going to make you obsolete. I walked out of that office, leaving my family name behind, but taking something far more valuable: motivation. They found my resignation letter on their desks the next morning. By noon, I had moved out of my company-owned apartment into a small studio I'd prepared as my backup plan. By evening, I had officially incorporated my new company, Phoenix Digital Ventures. The name was deliberate. Like the mythical bird, I would rise from the ashes of my old life. My seed money came from the portion of my trust fund I'd managed to transfer before they could freeze it, barely enough to rent a small office and hire 2 fresh graduates who were brilliant but overlooked by the big firms. The first year was brutal. I worked 18-hour days, sleeping on an air mattress in my office more often than in my apartment. My team and I lived on coffee and determination, scrutinizing every startup proposal that came our way, looking for that one perfect opportunity. We found it in a small AI company that the big investment firms had overlooked. The founders were brilliant but inexperienced in business. Exactly the kind of talent the Blackwoods would never notice. I spent 2 weeks living on their office couch, learning their technology, helping refine their business plan. We invested everything we had. It was either going to be our big break or our last mistake. 3 months later, Google acquired the company for $120 million. Phoenix Digital's share was enough to fund our next 10 investments. 8 of them paid off spectacularly. Suddenly, we weren't just another small investment firm. We were the ones who could spot unicorns before anyone else. But I knew better than to get cocky. I kept our success quiet, operating through subsidiaries and shell companies. The tech world knew Phoenix Digital was successful, but no one knew who really ran it. I watched from afar as my family continued their old ways. Uncle George gave interviews about the importance of traditional investment strategies. My father accepted awards for maintaining the Blackwood legacy. William, my replacement, made headlines for closing another predictable real estate deal. None of them noticed that their most promising client prospects were quietly being snatched up by a mysterious new player in the market. None of them realized that the future they'd refused to see was already here, undermining their empire one deal at a time. 2 years after they'd thrown me out, I stood in my new office on the top floor of a downtown skyscraper, looking out at the city that had once belonged to the Blackwoods. My team had grown from 2 to 50, then to 200. We had offices in Silicon Valley, London, and Singapore. My assistant Maya knocked on my door. "Miss Elizabeth? The numbers for the quarter are in." I took the report, smiling as I read. Phoenix Digital had just surpassed Blackwood Industries in total assets under management. The student had officially overtaken the teachers. Also, Maya hesitated, your father's secretary called again. They really want to schedule that meeting. Of course they did. Blackwood Industries had been losing tech clients at an alarming rate. Every major startup they approached seemed to already have a better offer from a mysterious competitor. Tell them I'm busy, I replied, turning back to the window. I have an empire to build. I had learned the most important lesson of all. Success doesn't come from a family name. It comes from seeing the future while others cling to the past. 3 years into building Phoenix Digital, I decided to host our first annual Tech Innovation Gala. It wasn't just any party, it was a statement. While the Blackwoods hosted their traditional charity balls in old money venues, we took over the city's most cutting-edge event space, transforming it into a showcase of future technology. The guest list was carefully curated. Tech innovators, forward-thinking investors, and digital revolutionaries. The kind of people who would never get past the Blackwoods' strict social gatekeeping. Then came the call I'd been expecting. Elizabeth. My father's voice sounded older through the phone. We need to talk about the gala. I kept my voice neutral. How did you get this number? I have my ways. He paused. The whole city is talking about it. Every major tech company will be there. Even companies we've been trying to work with for months. Fascinating, I replied, signing off on the final seating arrangements. Was there something specific you needed? Don't play games, Elizabeth. Blackwood Industries needs to be represented at this event. We're still one of the largest investment firms in the city. I smiled, thinking of their steadily declining market share. The guest list is already finalized. We're your family, he pressed. Surely you can make an exception. Family. I laughed softly. Funny how that word only matters when you need something from me. Maya appeared in my doorway holding up a note. Uncle George is in the lobby. Your uncle is here, my father admitted. We thought perhaps a face-to-face conversation. I switched on my office security feed. There was Uncle George, looking distinctly uncomfortable in our ultra-modern lobby, surrounded by young tech professionals in casual wear rather than his usual suited cronies. Send him up, I told Maya. That I'll call you back. Or better yet, I won't. I ended the call and waited. When Uncle George walked in, he tried to hide his shock at my success, but his eyes betrayed him as they darted around my expansive office. Nice view, he managed. Almost as good as the one from Blackwood Tower. Better, actually. I can see your building from here. It looks rather small from this height. He flushed but pressed on. Elizabeth, let's be reasonable. This silly feud has gone on long enough. The family needs to present a united front. United front? I stood up. Like when you united to throw me out. Or when you united to freeze my accounts. That was business, he argued. We were trying to teach you. No, I cut him off. You were trying to break me. To prove I was nothing without the Blackwood name. How's that working out for you? He gritted his teeth. Look, the tech sector is changing. We need to adapt. Your father and I have discussed it and we're prepared to offer you a position back at Blackwood Industries. Executive Vice President of Digital Innovation. I burst out laughing. You really don't get it, do you? I don't need your titles anymore. Phoenix Digital made more in profits last quarter than Blackwood Industries made all year. That's impossible, he sputtered. We would have heard. Would you? I pressed a button on my desk and the wall behind me transformed into a digital display showing Phoenix Digital's true reach. We operate through 17 subsidiaries. You've actually tried to partner with 3 of them this year alone. We denied you each time. His face went pale as he recognized the company names, firms that had rejected Blackwood Industries partnership offers. That was you. All this time. All this time, I confirmed. While you were clinging to your precious tradition, I was building the future. Now about the gala. Yes, he seized the opening. Surely we can. Your invitation request is denied. I sat back down, dismissing him. Phoenix Digital's events are for innovators and visionaries. You are neither. You can't do this to us. We're your family. No, Uncle George. You're just another failed company that couldn't adapt to change. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a gala to plan. After he left, Maya brought in the latest guest list. Your father's assistant has called 4 more times. And William sent an email claiming he's always supported your vision. I laughed. Send them all the same response. Blackwood Industries can submit a formal partnership application through our website, just like everyone else. And their application will be reviewed and rejected just like everyone else's. The night of the gala arrived and I made sure it exceeded every expectation. The venue showcased prototypes from our most innovative portfolio companies. Holographic displays transformed the space into a glimpse of the future. Every major tech publication covered the event. I chose my outfit carefully. Not a designer brand the Blackwoods would recognize, but a cutting-edge piece from a tech fashion startup we'd funded. The dress responded to ambient light, shifting colors as I moved. From my private balcony overlooking the event, I watched the Blackwoods arrive uninvited, only to be stopped at the door. Uncle George's face turned purple as security turned him away. My father tried to argue that there must be some mistake. William attempted to sneak in through a side entrance. I sipped my champagne and enjoyed the show. Later that evening, as I took the stage to give my keynote speech, I looked out at the crowd of true innovators, brilliant minds who had been overlooked by traditional investors like the Blackwoods. 3 years ago, I began, someone told me I was nothing without my family name. They thought they were ending my story, but they were actually starting it. Because sometimes, losing everything you thought you needed is the first step to building something better. The crowd erupted in applause. Through the window, I could see the Blackwood Industries building, its old-fashioned architecture a relic of the past. My new empire, built on innovation and vision rather than tradition and surnames, cast its shadow over it. The next morning, the tech world was buzzing about Phoenix Digital's revolutionary showcase. Every major publication covered the event, praising our vision for the future. Blackwood Industries wasn't mentioned once. My father left a voicemail. Elizabeth, please. The family legacy. I deleted it before he could finish. The Blackwood legacy was exactly what I'd left behind, and my new legacy was just beginning. 1 week later, I received a thick envelope, an invitation to the annual Blackwood Charity Ball. Inside was a handwritten note from my father. The family isn't the same without you. I took out my favorite pen and wrote my response on the invitation. The future isn't the same without innovation. Enjoy living in the past. I sent it back with a copy of Phoenix Digital's latest financial report, showing exactly how much their outdated approach had cost them. Maya knocked on my door. Another acquisition offer from Blackwood Industries. They're getting desperate. I smiled, remembering Uncle George's words from 3 years ago. Without this family name, you're nothing. Send them our standard response, I said. Phoenix Digital is not for sale. Especially not to companies stuck in the last century. Looking out at my growing empire, I realized the truth. I hadn't just proven them wrong about me. I'd proven them wrong about everything. While they protected their precious legacy, I had built the future. The Blackwood name still opened doors in the city, but increasingly those doors led to empty rooms. The real power had shifted to new names, new visions, new empires. And mine was just getting started. Later that week, I approved plans for our new headquarters, a towering structure of glass and sustainable technology that would dwarf Blackwood Tower. It would be built right across from their building, ensuring they had a daily reminder of what they'd lost. The best revenge, after all, isn't just success. It's success they can't ignore, can't diminish, and can't enter. As for the family name they thought I couldn't survive without, I'd replaced it with something better. My own legacy, built not on birth but on vision, not on tradition but on innovation. And unlike the Blackwood Empire, mine was built to last. 5 years after that first gala, I stood in my office reviewing an unexpected proposal. Blackwood Industries was officially for sale. Years of refusing to adapt had finally caught up with them. The irony wasn't lost on me. They had once cast me out for suggesting they needed to change. Now they were facing obsolescence because they hadn't. Maya brought in the latest market analysis. They're asking 1/10 of what they were worth when you left. Should I prepare a bid? I thought about it. Buying them would be the ultimate victory. The company they thought I didn't deserve to be part of would become just another subsidiary of my empire. But that would be too easy. Too clean an ending for them. No, I decided. Let them sink. Some legacies deserve to end. I had built something they could never understand. An empire based on merit rather than birthright, on innovation rather than tradition. And that was worth more than any revenge. Besides, I had a future to build. And the past? Well, that belonged to the Blackwoods.
The email from Quantum Dynamics sat in my inbox like a time bomb. 5 years after they rejected me, after Richard Bennett had personally told me I wasn't qualified enough to work for them, they were practically begging for a meeting. Subject: urgent meeting request. Patent acquisition from Richard Bennett, CEO, Quantum Dynamics, to Dr. Sarah Anderson, Anderson Innovations. Dr. Anderson, your breakthrough in quantum computing architecture has caught our attention. Quantum Dynamics would like to discuss acquiring the patent rights. Given the revolutionary nature of your invention, we're prepared to offer substantial compensation. Please contact my office to arrange a meeting at your earliest convenience. Regards, Richard Bennett, CEO, Quantum Dynamics. I leaned back in my chair, remembering that day in Bennett's office. I'd been fresh out of MIT, my doctoral thesis on quantum computing still warm from the printer. Quantum Dynamics had been my dream company since undergrad. The industry leader in quantum computing development, the place where every serious researcher wanted to work. Your academic record is adequate, Bennett had said, barely glancing at my CV. But we're looking for people with more practical experience. Perhaps try a smaller company, something more suitable for your level. The way he'd said suitable made it clear what he really meant. I was a woman in a male-dominated field with ideas that challenged their traditional approaches. They wanted safe, conventional researchers who wouldn't rock the boat. Now, 5 years later, my inadequate ideas had revolutionized the entire industry. My quantum architecture design had solved the decoherence problem that had plagued quantum computing for decades. The patent was worth billions, and every major tech company was trying to get their hands on it, including Quantum Dynamics, who were watching their market share disappear as competitors lined up to license my technology. I opened my laptop and began typing a response. Mr. Bennett, thank you for your interest in my patent. I would be happy to discuss potential acquisition terms. However, I insist that all negotiations be conducted through my legal team until the final stages. I will have my assistant arrange a meeting for next week. Best regards, Dr. Sarah Anderson. I smiled as I hit send. Bennett had no idea who I really was. The name was the same, but he'd never connected Dr. Sarah Anderson, the revolutionary inventor he was desperate to meet, with the young woman he'd dismissed 5 years ago. My assistant, Maria, knocked on my office door. The lawyers are here for the pre-meeting briefing. I nodded, gathering my thoughts. The last 5 years hadn't been easy, but they'd been worth it. After Quantum Dynamics rejected me, I'd spent 6 months working out of my garage, surviving on ramen noodles and determination. Every penny of my savings went into research equipment. Other companies had shown interest in my initial designs, but they all wanted to water down my ideas, make them safer and more conventional. So I decided to do it myself. I took out loans, maxed out credit cards, and eventually found a few small investors who believed in my vision. The breakthrough came after 2 years of grueling work. I'd been staring at test results at 3 a.m. when I realized the solution wasn't in making quantum bits more stable. It was in creating an entirely new architecture that worked with their inherent instability. The prototype worked better than anyone had expected. Suddenly, those same companies that had rejected my ideas were calling nonstop. But I didn't license the patent right away. Instead, I started Anderson Innovations, developing practical applications for my technology. Now, 3 years later, we had working quantum computers that were revolutionizing everything from medical research to climate modeling. Our machines were smaller, more efficient, and more powerful than anything else on the market. And Quantum Dynamics was falling behind. The legal team was waiting in the conference room, 3 top patent attorneys and our chief negotiator. They'd helped me navigate the complex world of tech patents and corporate negotiations, protecting my interests when bigger companies tried to bully us. Dr. Anderson, James Chen, our lead attorney, greeted me. We've reviewed Quantum Dynamics' preliminary offer. They're starting at $2 billion for exclusive rights to the patent. I sat down at the head of the table. And what's the patent actually worth? Conservative estimates put it at $5 billion minimum, but that's just for the patent itself. If we factor in the practical applications and future developments, it's worth more than their entire company, Sarah Martinez, our negotiator, finished, which is why they're so desperate to acquire it. Their stock has dropped 30% since we announced our latest breakthrough. I nodded, thinking about the poetic justice of it all. The company that had deemed me unqualified was now facing obsolescence because of my innovations. What's our strategy? I asked. James spread out several documents. We string them along, make them think they have a chance at an exclusive license. Meanwhile, we continue negotiations with their competitors. The longer this plays out, the more desperate they'll become. And Bennett? Will he be at the preliminary meetings? Sarah checked her notes. No, they're sending their head of R&D and legal team for the initial discussions. Bennett only gets involved in the final stages of major acquisitions. Perfect. I wanted to save my revelation for just the right moment. One more thing, I added. Make sure all meetings are recorded. I want documentation of every word. The next week passed in a blur of preparations. Quantum Dynamics representatives were suitably impressed by our headquarters, a modern glass and steel building in Silicon Valley, a far cry from my garage workshop days. They made all the right noises about synergy and mutual benefit, while their eyes betrayed their desperation. I watched the negotiations via closed-circuit TV from my office, letting our team handle the details. The Quantum Dynamics people kept dropping hints about wanting to meet the brilliant Dr. Anderson, but my team had strict instructions about maintaining my privacy. Dr. Anderson prefers to focus on research, they would say. She'll join us when the serious negotiations begin. Finally, after 2 weeks of preliminary discussions, Bennett himself requested a meeting. His email was less confident this time. Dr. Anderson, our teams have made excellent progress, but I believe it's time for us to meet in person. Your innovations could be transformative for quantum dynamics. I would appreciate the opportunity to discuss our vision for the future directly. Regards, Richard Bennett. I read the email several times, savoring each word. Transformative was an understatement. My technology wouldn't transform quantum dynamics. It would save them from becoming obsolete. I drafted my response carefully. Mr. Bennett, I agree it's time we met. Shall we say next Thursday, 2 p.m., at your office? I believe I remember the way. Best regards, Dr. Sarah Anderson. I sent the email, knowing the last line would puzzle him. Let him wonder about its meaning. In 1 week, he would understand exactly what he had missed 5 years ago. The weekend before the meeting, I visited my old garage workshop. I'd kept it as a reminder of where I'd started, though now it was cleaned up and served as a private lab for my personal projects. The desk where I'd had my breakthrough was still there, its surface scoured from countless coffee cups and late-night frustrations. Pinned to the wall was my rejection letter from Quantum Dynamics, framed not out of bitterness, but as motivation. Next to it hung the front page of Technology Today with the headline, Anderson Innovations Revolutionizes Quantum Computing. As I stood there, surrounded by the memories of my struggle, I thought about all the other brilliant minds who had been dismissed, underestimated, or ignored because they didn't fit someone's preconception of what a genius should look like. This wasn't just about personal vindication anymore. It was about changing the way the industry worked, about proving that innovation could come from anywhere, from anyone. Thursday was approaching, and with it my chance to show Richard Bennett exactly what he had missed. But first, I had to prepare for a meeting that would change everything, not just for me, but for the future of quantum computing itself. Thursday morning dawned clear and bright. I stood in front of my closet, considering my options. Finally, I chose the exact same outfit I'd worn to my interview 5 years ago, a charcoal gray suit and blue silk blouse. But this time, I added my doctoral hood and the gold pin I'd received for winning the National Science Foundation's Innovation Award. The car's ready, Dr. Anderson, Maria announced through the intercom. And the legal team has arrived at Quantum Dynamics for the preliminary meeting. I checked my reflection one last time. Gone was the nervous young graduate with something to prove. In her place stood a successful CEO who had already proven everything. Quantum Dynamics headquarters hadn't changed much, still all glass and chrome, designed to impress. The security guard at the desk did a double take when I gave my name. Dr. Sarah Anderson, they're expecting you in the main conference room. He paused. Have you been here before? Once, I smiled. A long time ago. The elevator ride to the executive floor brought back memories. I'd been so hopeful that day, clutching my portfolio of ideas that would later revolutionize the industry. Now those same ideas were worth billions. Bennett's assistant jumped up when I entered the waiting area. "Dr. Anderson, Mr. Bennett is just finishing up a call. Can I get you anything while you wait?" "No, thank you." I sat down, noting that it was the same chair I'd waited in 5 years ago. Back then, I'd waited 45 minutes while Bennett deliberately made me sweat. Today, I barely sat down when his office door flew open. "Dr. Anderson, please come in." Bennett's voice boomed with practiced enthusiasm. He looked older than I remembered, more gray in his hair, more lines around his eyes. The stress of watching his company fall behind must be taking its toll. I walked into his office, taking in the familiar details, the same pretentious modern art on the walls, the same oversized desk designed to make visitors feel small, the same view of Silicon Valley sprawling below. Bennett extended his hand, then froze as recognition slowly dawned on his face. "You?" His confident smile faltered. "You're Sarah Anderson." I finished for him, keeping my voice pleasant. "We met 5 years ago, right here in this office. Though back then, you said I wasn't qualified enough for quantum dynamics." He sank into his chair, his face ashen. That is, things were different then. Yes, they were. I sat down across from him, smoothing my skirt. But let's not dwell on the past. You wanted to discuss acquiring my patent. He tried to recover his composure, shuffling papers on his desk. Yes, of course. Our initial offer is inadequate. I cut him off. $2 billion for a technology that's already generated $5 billion in licensing fees. That's not even counting the practical applications we're developing at Anderson Innovations. "We could revise the offer," he said quickly. "Perhaps discuss a partnership arrangement." I pulled out my tablet and placed it on his desk. "Actually, I have a counter-proposal, one that might interest you more than our patent." He leaned forward eagerly. "Yes. Anderson Innovations is preparing to launch a new quantum processor next month. It's 50 times faster than anything currently on the market, including your best machines." I paused, letting that sink in. "We're also developing quantum-based solutions for artificial intelligence, cryptography, and medical imaging." "That's impressive," he managed. "The patent you want to buy? That was just the beginning. We have a dozen more breakthrough technologies in development." I met his eyes steadily. "Quantum dynamics is falling behind, Mr. Bennett. Your stock price reflects that. You need more than just our current patent, you need our innovation pipeline." He wiped his forehead with a monogrammed handkerchief. "What exactly are you proposing?" "A merger." I slid a document across his desk. "But not the kind you're thinking of. Anderson Innovations would acquire Quantum Dynamics. You become a division of our company." The silence that followed was deafening. Bennett stared at the document like it might bite him. This is impossible," he finally sputtered. "We're still one of the largest quantum computing companies in the world." "For now," I agreed. "But in 6 months? A year? Your market share is dropping weekly. Your best researchers are leaving for companies that have licensed our technology. You're facing obsolescence, Mr. Bennett." He slumped in his chair, the truth of my words hitting home. "And if we refuse? Then we'll continue licensing our technology to your competitors. We'll keep developing new innovations, and quantum dynamics will keep falling further behind." I stood up. "You have 24 hours to make a decision." As I turned to leave, he called out, "Wait. Why are you doing this? Is it because of what happened 5 years ago?" I paused at the door. "No, Mr. Bennett. This isn't about revenge. It's about the future of quantum computing. Your company has brilliant researchers, excellent facilities, and decades of experience. But you're held back by old thinking, by leaders who can't recognize innovation when it's sitting right in front of them." I walked out, leaving him with the merger proposal and his thoughts. The next day, Quantum Dynamics' board of directors voted to accept our offer. The business media called it the tech acquisition of the decade. "Quantum computing, David acquires Goliath," read the headlines. 3 months later, I stood in Quantum Dynamics' main research lab, now part of Anderson Innovations, addressing the combined research teams. "The old barriers between departments are gone," I announced. "No more traditional hierarchies, no more dismissing ideas because they seem too radical. From now on, we evaluate proposals based on merit, not on who presents them. In the back of the room, I spotted a young researcher, fresh out of graduate school, clutching a folder of ideas. She reminded me of myself 5 years ago. After the meeting, I stopped by her desk. "Tell me about your research," I said. Her eyes lit up as she explained her theories about quantum entanglement. Her ideas were unconventional, challenging accepted principles, just the kind of thinking quantum dynamics would have rejected in the past. "Have you shown these to anyone?" I asked. She shook her head. "I was told they were too experimental, that I should focus on more established approaches. I thought about my old garage workshop, about late nights spent proving everyone wrong. Would you like to lead a research team exploring these theories?" Her jaw dropped. "Really? But I'm not. I just started." "Sometimes," I said, smiling, "the best innovations come from people who haven't been told what's impossible." Later that day, I visited Bennett's old office, my office now. The pretentious art was gone, replaced by whiteboards covered in equations. The oversized desk had been donated, making room for a collaborative workspace where researchers could share ideas. On one wall hung 2 framed documents, my old rejection letter from Quantum Dynamics and the signed merger agreement that had transformed both companies. Between them was a new plaque with Anderson Innovation's motto, "Innovation knows no boundaries." My assistant buzzed through. "Dr. Mitchell from MIT is on the line. She says she has a student you might want to meet, someone with unusual ideas about quantum gravity." I smiled, thinking about cycles and second chances. "Set up the meeting. And Maria? Make sure they know we're always interested in unconventional thinking." The quantum computing industry had changed forever, not just because of our technology, but because we'd proven that true innovation can come from anywhere, even from someone who wasn't qualified enough. And somewhere in Silicon Valley, in a cleaned-up garage workshop, a framed magazine cover still hangs on the wall, reminding me that sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about changing the game entirely.